When we last met, we were drawing Lewis structures to represent molecules. This is a good first step in visualizing a molecule, but Lewis structures are two-dimensional. Today, we want to go a step further and take a three-dimensional look at molecules. So, let's start by talking about why molecular geometry would be important in the first place. Our job in chemistry is to study matter. We have talked about the properties of elements and how we can predict them based on the element's location on the periodic table. We want to be able to predict the properties of molecules as well. This will get us one step closer to understanding chemical reactions. The type of bond involved plays a part in the properties of molecules, but so does the shape of the molecule. How do we determine the shape of a molecule? Let's start with something simple, like a hydrogen molecule. You will recall that a hydrogen molecule consists of two hydrogen atoms with a shared pair of electrons between them. You can see that the shape of this molecule would be linear. What about a molecule of HCl? Again, you can see that the shape of this molecule would have to be linear. In fact, any molecule that contains only two atoms is going to be linear. The student is going to build a model to represent a molecule of HCl. The model she builds shows how a molecule containing only two atoms is linear. It gets a bit more complicated when molecules contain more than two atoms. In order to predict the geometries of these more complicated molecules, we need to understand Vsepr theory. Vsepr stands for valence shell electron pair repulsion.
Valence shell electron pair repulsion. The Vsepr theory basically says that since electron pairs will repel each other, the pairs of electrons surrounding the central atom in a molecule will be as far apart from one another as possible.
First, we're going to consider molecules in which the central atom has no unshared pairs of electrons. Let's look at carbon dioxide. First of all, we need to draw the Lewis structure for carbon dioxide. We did this one in our last program. The carbon atom is the central atom, and it is bonded to each oxygen atom with a double bond. The distance between the oxygen atoms will be the greatest if they lie on opposite sides of the carbon atom. This will make them 180 degrees apart. The student is building a model to represent the carbon dioxide molecule. She will use springs to represent the shared pairs of electrons in the double bonds. From the model, you can see that the atoms in the carbon dioxide molecule form a linear geometry.
Whenever two atoms are bonded to the central atom, and there are no unshared pairs of electrons on the central atom, the molecule will have a linear shape. This will result in a 180-degree angle between the atoms.
Now, let's try CH2O. We also did the Lewis structure for this one in our last program. In this one, the central atom, carbon, is surrounded by three other atoms. These three atoms will achieve Vsepr by forming the corners of an equilateral triangle. This will make them 120 degrees apart. The student is building a model to represent CH2O. Again, she will use springs to represent the shared pairs in a double bond, and she will use sticks to represent the shared pair in a single bond. You can see how the atoms form a triangle.
Whenever three atoms are bonded to the central atom, and there are no unshared pairs of electrons on the central atom, the molecule will have a triangular shape. Because the three atoms all lie in the same plane, this shape is called trigonal planar. This will result in a 120-degree angle between the atoms.
Another example without any unshared pairs on the central atom is CH2Cl2, which we did the Lewis structure for in the last program. In this one, the central atom is bonded to 4 other atoms. In order for the atoms to achieve VSEPR, they will form a tetrahedron. In a tetrahedron, the angle between the atoms is 109.5 degrees. The student is going to build a model to represent CH2Cl2. The black ball represents the carbon atom in the center. The 2 yellow balls represent the 2 hydrogen atoms, and the 2 green balls represent the 2 chlorine atoms. You can see that the atoms are spread evenly around the central atom, forming a tetrahedron.
Whenever 4 atoms are bonded to the central atom and there are no unshared pairs of electrons on the central atom, the molecule will have a tetrahedral shape. This will result in a 109.5 degree angle between the atoms.
Now, let's try water, H2O. Oxygen has 6 valence electrons, and each of the hydrogen atoms has 1, for a total of 8 valence electrons to work with. So, we put oxygen in the middle, bonded to each hydrogen atom, with 2 unshared pairs of electrons as well. We might think that this molecule will be linear, because it only involves 3 atoms. However, VSEPR takes all of the electron pairs into account, not just the shared ones. Let's think of it this way. There are 4 electron clouds surrounding the oxygen atom. 2 of the clouds are shared pairs, and 2 of the clouds are unshared pairs. 4 electron clouds make this more similar to a tetrahedron than a linear molecule. But remember, 2 of our clouds are unshared pairs. This makes a bent shape. The student is building a model to represent H2O. The model kit design prevents the student from thinking that this would be a linear molecule, which would be a big mistake. Taking the unshared pairs of electrons into account, the model kit provides the student with a look at this bent molecule.
Whenever 2 atoms are bonded to the central atom, and there are 2 unshared pairs of electrons on the central atom, the molecule will have a bent shape.
The last one we are going to try is NH3, another Lewis structure we drew from the last program. At first glance, you may think that this is going to form a planar triangle, just like CH2O. But you have to consider the unshared pair of electrons on the nitrogen atom. Again, this is more similar to a tetrahedron because it has 4 total electron clouds. We know that one of the clouds is an unshared pair of electrons. And we get a molecule that is indeed triangular, but the atoms are not all in the same plane. This model is called trigonal pyramidal. The student is going to build a model to represent NH3. Again, the model kit is designed to prevent the student from making the mistake that this would be trigonal planar. Taking the unshared pair of electrons into account, the model kit provides the student with a look at this trigonal pyramidal molecule.
Whenever 3 atoms are bonded to the central atom, and there is 1 unshared pair of electrons on the central atom, the molecule will have a triangular shape. The atoms will not lie in the same plane. Instead, they will form a sort of pyramid, so this shape is given the name trigonal pyramidal.